What's up, everybody? We're back in the basement. It's about a few days or almost a week after the Run Through Time marathon that happened in Salida last weekend. And yeah, so I'm just going to quickly recap what exactly went down and give a quick little recap on everything. To start off, it's really good to look at the week going into the race. So look at the week before the race. So initially that week, I felt really, really good. Everything was going well. Runs were good. I felt good. And then Thursday hit. And I had a little tiny sickness bug come up and get me, which is kind of not the best thing to have happen 2 days before a race. So Thursday night was pretty rough, but that's okay. I felt definitely pretty depleted after that. So limited calories, limited water in my body going into Friday. And then also another thing about the week before the race is that the weather turned. So a normal issue about this race is that it's springtime in Colorado. And every time we try to race this in college, it would always snow the day of the race. So we could never get over the pass, which is brutal. And then luckily I was able to get over the pass Friday. It snowed probably 10 to 18 inches in Gunnison that day, which is crazy. And then so everybody else in Gunnison wasn't able to make it over to the race that was planning on trying to race. But yeah, going into race day, race morning, I didn't know exactly how I was going to feel after Thursday, but yeah, so I think after Thursday, it changed my mentality going into the race. I think inevitably, if you get sick before a race, it's kind of hard to keep that the same mentality. But woke up the day of the race, felt okay, didn't feel completely sick. I was able to eat a few good meals that Friday, drink some water, and yeah. So I think initially I really wanted to show up and try to rip the course as hard as I could. But after Thursday, you just kind of know it's like, okay, you just kind of have to adapt and then see how it goes. But with that being said, the goal going into it initially, as I said before, I wanted a hard 3-hour effort. I wanted to practice long running. I wanted to practice my nutrition. I wanted to get that race stimulus. And yeah, so using that, even though maybe not being 100%, is that I think I still achieved all those goals. So with the nutrition side, I've been really trying to get up to 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour. That's quite a lot, but that's why we practice. So yeah, so I initially was planning that for the race. So I had 2 soft flasks in the front filled with 75 grams of carbs. And then I had 2 gels to take with each. And then in the back, I had a empty soft flask with an additional 70 grams of carbohydrates plus an additional gel. And at the end of the race, I think I took about 200 to 220 grams of carbohydrates over the race. And so I think that comes out to about 60 to 70 grams of carbohydrates overall per hour. And that kind of broke down to about 100 grams in the first 70 to 80 minutes, and then 100 grams over the last 2 hours roughly. And so it's maybe not the most even, but I think going into the future, I think if I brought it down to about 90 grams of carbohydrates and then add an additional 300 ml soft flask handheld, that might be a very beneficial thing, because I think a big thing is I need to drink more water when I actually race. And I don't actually want to carry that on my pack itself, because I have my small soft flask and my gels on my body. And I don't want to take up one of my front bottle holders as a way to carry something. And I think 300 mils is small enough that your arms wouldn't get tired carrying it. So I think that's how I'm going to adapt going into the future. Then yeah, actually looking at the race itself, is that the initially, if we were looking at the weather, is that the race day weather was going to be 40 degrees, light rain, perfect running conditions. So I got my arm sleeves, I got my singlet, I got my cap, and I'm ready. I thought that was going to be the perfect race setup. So yeah, put that a little bit into the backside of your mind. So the race starts off with a 2.5 mile loop, and you do this 2.5 mile loop, and we're all running well together. We're all feeling good. Everybody's pretty much together at this point. It's fun to run with people at this point. And then we hit the single track, and Morgan takes off. Then Taylor and I were together for a little bit, and then Taylor takes off. Then I didn't see those two the rest of the race. And then at this point, there was kind of a gap behind me. So for the rest of the race, I pretty much ran by myself completely. And then around mile 5, so between mile 2.5 to mile 10, it's this windy single track. It's great if it wasn't snowing along the front side of the Salida Mountains. And around mile 5, it just starts dumping snow. And at mile 10, we start this road climb up to the high point of the course. And I mean, it's snowing maybe an inch an hour at this point. Like, the road's completely covered. There was tracks in front of me just getting buried. And I'm just in my singlet, and I'm starting to get pretty cold. And I never got crazy cold, but I was fairly cold the whole entire race, or during that, which is it's never a great thing to be that cold. But same thing, you just change your mentality, and you're like, well, I think you're just like, you change it from just into this survival standpoint. And then we got to the high point of the course. It was super snowy, and it was pretty much snow on top of wind drifted snow, kind of this punch through. That I mean, it was a vibe, but it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. And then the next thing was the long descent down to the finish. Yeah, so that was a little bit interesting because it's on this rocky dirt road, or double track road, and there's 3 inches of fresh snow on it, so you can't really see where you're putting down your foot, and everything when you step down just slides out from underneath you. So that was kind of fun. Actually, I actually thought that the descent wasn't that bad. I do enjoy descending. I think it's always like, where's your strong suit? Because I don't look at myself as a climber, and then I can't really look at myself as a descender after being in Europe all last year. But I think I do really enjoy descending, and I do feel like, especially these US races, maybe it just depends on the day. But it's like, I feel like I was descending well, and it was fun. I was wearing the Speed Ultras, and I felt like the grip was like perfect for that day. For that type of course, the Speed Ultra was perfect. And then we kept running down, and then we got to the finish. Then it got sunny. So yeah, I think I ended up getting third, and Morgan and Taylor got first and second respectively in front of me. But overall, I was really happy with the race. I ran 3 hours and 12 minutes, I believe, something around that. Yeah, so I was really happy with it, because I look at it the last time I did race this race was in college, and I had a dropout. It's my only dropout race, and it was because I fell really bad and cut open my elbow really bad, and it's permanently scarred right now from from a bunch of accidents that year. But it's good to actually come back and not drop out, and it's good to come back and like feel like I got to 26 miles feeling good. My body, I wasn't at 100% at the race, but that's okay. I felt good about it, and then it kind of makes me feel good going into the future. And also a big thing too is, like, one of the really nice things is that you get to see everybody that you haven't seen in for a while, and it's always great to have everybody in the community out there having a great time, feeling good. Yeah, so that's also a really great thing that happens. Is always the best thing about these local races too. Yeah, I think overall it was a good day. I mean, not perfect, but I'm happy with it. And then the next big races coming out after this is going to be the Desert Rats 21K, then the Canyons 50K in April. Then yeah, I think right now just recover and then start ramping up training, because you got to get fit for these races. Yeah, I feel good. Nutrition was pretty good. And then yeah, I know where I need to work on going forward. And then now it's almost springtime in a way. Gunnison still cold, but yeah, overall good. let's call it a wrap, and then we're on to the next episode after this.